We are back. The Silver and Blue Huddle is back. Unfortunately, we back under bad circumstances, but either way, we here win or lose. So we're gonna have a nice little discussion about our Cowboys' embarrassing loss against the freaking New Orleans Saints at home, and it's just looking like the same old Cowboys, man. Like we're back in week 2. I know I've been saying we back in week 1, but it really seems like the Dallas Cowboys are back in week 2 because that's the Dallas Cowboys that we're used to seeing on a regular basis, especially during the regular season or during like the playoffs. But hey, we're here to talk about it. We got my man Richblkman here. So amazing is out in Miami. He was last seen rocking out with DJ Khaled down there on the golf course. So he'll be back next episode. So we wish him well and enjoys a little vacation. But me and Expert back, we got it down. We holding it down for everybody as well for this week on the Silver and Blue Huddle. But man, what an embarrassing loss by Dallas Cowboys, 44-19. To me, Expert, it seemed like the game was over in the first quarter, the first half, the first series that the Saints ran. I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, like what kind of defense are we playing today? And then the Saints had another series, and I was like, okay, this defensive plan is flawed. Like they're not even getting to like a third down. Like they're just running the ball down our throats. They're just scoring at will. Like, what is really going on with the Dallas Cowboys in week 2? Hopefully, it's just a little blimp on the path to the Super Bowl. But hey, what an embarrassing loss at home, man. So let's talk about it. Offense, defense. I don't know where to start, but I think we could probably start on the defense. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, obviously, your home opener, you come off of what we as fans thought was a big win versus Cleveland. Cleveland goes into week 2, they win their week 2 game. Right. We're coming into Texas, into AT&T Stadium, aka Jerry's World. Regardless how the Cowboy players felt, as fans, we were on a high, right? Everybody picked the Browns. Everybody this week was picking the Cowboys. And listen, I've been saying before this game that this was the game that the Cowboys were going to show their true colors, right? This is the type of team we play down to. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the Saints, right? The Saints played their tails off. They whooped our butts from the opening kickoff until the last zero was on the clock. To me, when the Cowboys got back to the Star in Frisco and they're watching this film, they're going to see a lot of lack of effort from this Cowboys defense. And the Saints beat them to spots. They pushed that defensive line back. They got to the second level. Guys not doing their technique. What it's just fundamental things for me, right? Like junior high football. If you're the defensive tackle, you have to make that guard come and block you. You can't just let him go, because if he don't have to get a center and he help to block you, he's immediately on to the linebacker. And we got this big, huge gaping hole. We're asking safeties and corners to come down and make plays. And Kamara just had a field, and it didn't matter who was running the ball. Taysom Hill, Williams, Kamara, it didn't make any difference who had the ball in their hands. They were getting 6, 7, 8 yards a clip in the run game. And I'm going to tell you this right now, Cowboy Nation. If we can't figure out how to stop the football from being run, it's one thing when you got one of the best secondaries in the NFL. I really like this back half of this Cowboy defense. But if you can't stop the run, you're done. You have no shot at winning a Super Bowl, because teams are going to pound the rock against you if they know you can't stop the simple stretch, ISO, power, counter. If you can't stop those simple things, and I'm not saying you have to stop them 100% of the time, but like Rich said, the Saints never got into that huddle with the 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 and said, okay, guys, now we got to sling the ball around.
Never happened.
First down, it was 2nd and 2, or it was 1st and 10. They were getting clip after clip after clip. And then it just, those things are the things that there's no excuse for in the NFL. There's no excuse for playing the wrong technique, and there's no excuse for effort. You get paid way too much money to be on that sideline wearing that star on your helmet. And this goes for every team in the NFL. Every fan should feel this way. Right. You get paid way too much money to not give me effort on every play and be in the right technique. It's your job. And yesterday, there was 53 Cowboys. Sorry, I'm sorry, 52 Cowboys that should have got fired
Right. Now,
because they didn't do their job.
and we actually brought in Mike Zimmer to beef up that run defense, right? But it looks
We did.
like in week 2 there was no run defense. Like, do you
Here's the
blame
thing
him
about
a lot?
here's the thing about Zimmer though. Zimmer's defense is he tries to scheme you into getting out of your offense,
Mm,
right? So he's going to bring those two linebackers in the A gap. He's going to be bringing guys off of the edge. I didn't see any of that. No exotic stuff from the Cowboys yesterday, and they can't get into anything exotic because they getting stomped on 1st and 10, and it's 2nd and 1 or it's 2nd and 2. They can't get into those exotic things, right? And then when the run game is working so well, play action pass, you are done for. Because your front seven are so worried about getting gashed in the run game, they're taking 2 steps to the line of scrimmage and they're beat. And you're trying to play man coverage behind you with Chris Olave, and they got speed all over the place.
right.
Taysom Hill coming out the backfield. The screen game. What? Listen, we haven't covered a screen since 2002 in Dallas.
Screens,
This is yes,
running, all that's been a
was
problem.
it was ridiculous. You literally could have squinted your eyes and it looked like the Cowboys versus the Green Bay Packers in the wild card. They were just gash. And so listen, these are professionals in this building at Frisco at the Star with they practice. They're professionals.
Right.
But as a former defensive coordinator and head coach for football, there would be some choice words being said to these grown men on Monday after that performance. And I would be questioning if this is the line of work you really want to be in, because you just got embarrassed in your home stadium, your first home game, by a team that everybody said you were supposed to beat.
Right.
Because they beat up the little old Panthers in week 1. And then they came in here in week 2 to the big bad dog that was the Dallas Cowboys, and they did the exact same thing. So are we as bad as the Carolina Panthers? Because that's what we look like.
Right. But it didn't even get better after halftime. So you had
there was no adjustment.
You had that speech after the game, but what is a speech that you're telling your team during halftime? Because they could have really got back in it in the second half if they would just got some defensive stops, and hopefully with a miracle the offense would have just stepped up and did their thing as well. But at halftime, don't you get in the player's face? Like, don't you tell them, hey, let's do our job, let's change it up a little bit, let's just do a better job. But then in the second half, the same thing kept happening. The Saints kept running the ball, first down. I mean, they didn't put up no more points. They put up a few points, but it wasn't. The Saints probably could have had like 50 or 60 on us easy if they just kept the same game plan. But integrity in NFL, they're not really going to try to run up the score unless you're just that.
Yeah, I don't know if at halftime, if you're yelling and screaming at halftime, a lot of halftime is just trying to make an adjustment.
Right.
But I don't think it's adjustment. See, that's my thing though. I don't think it's, hey, we need to shift the line to the right, or maybe we need to add another linebacker. I don't think there's an adjustment like that, right? There's one thing to say, hey, listen, that guard is stretching us a little bit. Let's move the defensive tackle over half a shade and try and get to that outside shoulder. That's an adjustment that you could make if you saw something that maybe wasn't working right. The thing yesterday was effort and technique for me. That's not an adjustment. That's heart. That's in your gut. Do you got effort? You got Trayvon Diggs crashing down and taking Taysom Hill, who's probably got him by 30, 40 pounds, and he's blowing that block up saying, okay, I got the outside. I need my linebacker to scrape and get in this hole and make this tackle because I did my job. But it's the guy that's next to you not doing what he's supposed to do. It's not really an adjustment for me. Yes, I'm sure they looked at some things and said, hey, Mozzie, I need you to do this, or Limbaugh here, or Micah. They may have made some of those. But yesterday it was just a lot of lack of effort on the defensive side. Right. And the problem is that puts a real big strain on your offense. right? Because now your offense is on the sideline saying, God, we got to score 7 every time we touch the football. And the Cowboys weren't doing that. They have the greatest weapon in the NFL. His name is Brandon Aubrey, and they used him yesterday nonstop.
Right.
If we just kick extra points instead of field goals, this game is different, even though your defense is playing bad, because the offense was moving the ball. In between the 20s, they were moving the football. But then they got down to where it mattered, and it stalls. You got no run game. You know, it's just so many things were going against the Cowboys yesterday. And you got to tip your hat to the Saints because they had a great game plan. They said, listen, we're going to take 88 away from you. Now, 88, he had a good game to start, right? He gets the touchdown off the little juke he had. That was nice. It looked really good. But the Saints made an effort to say, you're not going to beat us with 4 and 88. That can't be it. It's going to have to be 3 or 1 or 83 or 89. And we don't think you can beat us. And God dang it, the Saints were right.
Right. When you talk about like effort or whatever, I mean, that's been a knock on the Dallas Cowboys for years. And every time that the Dallas Cowboys get blown out, every time the Dallas Cowboys get eliminated from the playoffs, that is the number one reason why people say the Dallas
Yep.
Cowboys have lost is effort. So we got the same players. We keep bringing them back every year, every year, every year. The same non-effort dudes that causes us to lose. But I mean, that's the number one thing: effort. And the Dallas Cowboys cannot stop the run. So I mean, it's the same old Cowboys, the same old Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys. No effort, can't stop the run. Defense kind of shaky. Whenever that pass rush does not get there, that secondary is pretty toast. Like that's just a Dallas
Well,
Cowboys.
you got to look at the top down, right? And I'm not talking the top of Jerry Jones. I'm talking the top of your coaching staff.
100%.
If you look back, Mike McCarthy, Jason Garrett, they're really more of player coaches, right? They're more player coaches. You look at a Bill Parcells, a Jimmy Johnson, those are not player coaches, right? You don't do your job, I'm getting rid of you. Unless your name is Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, or Emmitt Smith, you're gone, right? You better come in here and do your job. You look at a Bill Belichick, he's not a player coach. He's a do your damn job or go find somewhere else to play football. I think it starts right there. Effort starts at the head coach. And if the head coach cannot go into that locker room of men, it's different. It's different when you're coaching high school football, right? Like I could go into the high school football coach of the locker room with my players and talk to them a different way than if I was to go in the locker room with a 34-year-old, 35-year-old Dak Prescott. I'm not going to go in there and talk to Dak the same way I would talk to a 16, 17-year-old kid in high school. It's different. You have to be able to lead men in a different way. And I'm not saying being a player's coach does not work, because I think there's been lots of instances where player coaches have done a great job and been successful. But if you look at the coaches that are truly pushing the envelope, look at Harbaugh in Baltimore. He's a player coach. He cannot win the big game. He can't win the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, in Kansas City, I would not call Andy Reid a player's coach.
Absolutely not. No.
Right? No. He's expecting you to do your job. He holds you to a different standard. That's why that team is successful. We got to find a head coach that's going to hold these guys accountable to doing their job and doing it consistently. Because, Rich, we couldn't stop the run under Jason Garrett. We couldn't stop the run under Dan Quinn. We couldn't stop the run under Mike McCarthy. We can't stop the run under Mike Zimmer.
Right.
What is it? It's not the same players. The players have changed. We've drafted, we've moved, we got free agent. That's changed. So something has to change in the culture of the Dallas Cowboys to get them back where they need to be. And that's the first step. You got to find guys that are willing to give you that effort every play.
And it's just so many of these type of games that's happened under the Mike McCarthy era. Like something has to be done. I mean, I know we got a tough schedule coming up over the next few weeks, and I would be afraid if this happened again in like two of the next four games. I mean, it cannot happen. For his sake, it cannot happen because the effort is always going to be there, and it's always under the Mike McCarthy era. And we done had way too many of these type of losses as of late with the type of talent that we have on the Dallas Cowboy team. Like, it should not be happening at all. Like you mentioned, a whole lot of great coaches, Bill Belichick. I can't even remember a time that the Patriots got blown out, let alone at home, or just their effort was questioned. Like the entire time that Bill Belichick was in with the Patriots, you never heard anything about his team showing a lack of effort. They came out and competed. They might have got beat or whatever, but it never was in question that that team was never prepared or that team had they had the effort just was always there, win or lose under Bill Belichick, and I definitely think that's something that the Cowboys need. So hopefully, I mean, maybe he's on the sideline. I don't know if he's the answer or not, but I do know that the effort will be different. I do know that the Cowboys will finally be more disciplined than what they currently are under a Bill Belichick. So, but it may be too early to talk about that. But hopefully, it's just one game. And speaking about the offense, speaking about Dak Prescott, I know on social media a lot of people are trying to blame Dak Prescott for this loss and the offense. I mean, I can't really blame Dak for this game. Like he did his thing. Like he came out and tried. He like up what the first half was doing 7-3, and then they mess around and turned it over or whatever. And then they say the Saints go down and score and it's 14-3. But they had the opportunity like before the half to at least get points. To get 7 because they got the ball after halftime. So they was able to like cut it down even more if they was able to get points at the end of that half before halftime, but they did not. But Dak Prescott did his thing. We do need a lot more effort coming from Brandon Cooks and also our third wide receiver. Like, dude, you cannot fall down on your home field on the critical third down, I
Yeah.
believe. Like, you just can't do that, bro. On a slant that you was wide open, like, bro, you cannot just fall down and have it get intercepted like that
Yeah.
and blaming that on the quarterback. I mean, Dak Prescott was kind of pissed, and rightfully so, but Dak did what he's supposed to do. Unfortunately, he was not able to like continue to keep the offense going and get 7 points versus 3. I mean, he is a $60 million quarterback. I kind of like, as a fan, as a diehard fan, I kind of do expect more from Dak Prescott because he is getting paid a lot more. But that could just be craziness out of me because they just weren't able to get 7. I mean, but I expect for him not to make the mistakes that he made or miss the throws that he missed early on in the game because we kind of still was in the game, even though the defense was kind of just. Matter of fact, I think the Saints just scored again right now. Like it was that type of day for the Saints, and
Yeah.
it was really that bad. I'm like, every time you look up, Saints scored again. Saints scored again. Oh my God, they keep scoring. Can we stop them? No. And then they scored again. Oh my God, it was just terrible, man. But
Yeah, and I said on the last podcast, I said as soon as something bad happens,
mhm.
the first thing people in the media, these fake and listen, fake Cowboy fans, because we have some of the worst fans in the history of all sports. The first thing they do is run to Twitter. What they do? Oh, Dak Prescott getting paid too much money to play like this. Last I checked, Dak missed 0 tackles yesterday. He did not give up a single catch. He did not drop a pick. He didn't miss an assignment on defense. He didn't do any of that. And that team put up 44 points. The first interception, not on Dak Prescott. Your wide receiver falls down. Dak is throwing that ball as the wide receiver is breaking, he's falling down. Dak's already let go of that football because he's throwing to a spot expecting his wide receiver to be there, and you slip. That's not on Dak Prescott. That ball was a dot. It was on the money. And that wide receiver was in front of the defender. That's a first down catch, right?
Yep.
This is where I said the Saints said, we're going to take 88 away, beat us with somebody else. And so those guys are going to have to step up and understand teams are going to try and eliminate CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. Those are the two guys they're going to try and focus on. Now, it hurts you don't have Jake Ferguson. 87 not being there hurts. Dak Prescott and him have a great relationship. He is his security blanket. He loves going to him. So I don't really put this game on Dak Prescott. Could the offensive play better? Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely, they could have played better. They scored on every possession except the interception in the first half. The problem is they only have one touchdown. They kicked field goals the rest of the time. They come out of halftime, they go right down the field, they kick another field goal. Then they don't score again, right? They go downs twice, a punt, and another pick, right? And the second interception is on Dak Prescott. Now, he's forcing things, trying to get this Cowboy team back into the game. Those are going to happen. He's a gunslinger. He's going to do that. I promise you, 2 interceptions for Dak yesterday. Only one was his fault. And the second one, you can halfway give it to him because he's just forcing things because his team is down 20-something points. So the other thing that this offense is going to have to do is they're going to have to figure out, how do we get other players involved when teams are taking CeeDee Lamb away? It should really be detrimental to your defense where you got to put 2 guys to cover 1. Because that means somebody else in this team is wide open on 1-to-1, man-to-man coverage, 1-on-1, me beating you. Those other guys got to find a way to get open.
But that's also another thing as well, because I question what the wide receivers do in practice every single week, because it seems like every time we face a team that plays strictly man-to-man and get real physical with our wide receivers, nobody gets open. And then it's a long game from the on out, because you come down, you press them, you get a little handsy with them or whatever, throw them off their little route or whatever. Nobody seems to get open. Like the dude that didn't Brooks on an interception, like you fall down, you was wide open. How you fall down? But then there's other cases where there was pretty much everybody was back. CD was double covered, so therefore Brandon Cooks need to get open or Brooks need to get open. Like, how was nobody able to create any type of separation on our team from the wide receiver room? Like, to me, that's
again,
that's crazy.
I think a lot of times you look up and you say, "Hey, we got 88. He's going to find a way to get us a play, right?" And so you got 2 young guys at wide receiver. Jalen Tolbert's still a pretty young guy. You have Schoonmaker at tight end. He's, his second year in the league.
He actually did pretty good in the beginning when he was able to get him the ball.
Right.
I want to see more of the rookie. Bring on Ryan. Bring Ryan out there.
I just think I think the big thing for us is the same thing that's killing our defense. We're not complimentary on our offense. We have no run game right now. And I think if your defense is not playing well, you got to find a way to extend some of these drives and get those guys to kind of just sit on the sideline, keep that high-powered offense for the Saints over there and not on the field running down your throat. And the Cowboys just couldn't sustain drives. Dak is having to drop back and throw the ball 40 times because you're averaging less than 3 yards a carry with your running backs. They try to get Deuce Vaughn some more carries. He averaged like 2 yards a carry.
Is it time to take him off the field now?
I like Deuce Vaughn, but here's my thing about Deuce. I don't think he's a stretch power. I don't think he's that type of running back. He's a toss the ball out to him, get him on the screen, a reverse. You got to get him on the outside making moves. You run him in between the tackles. Man, he's just going down so quick. This is not Kansas State. This is the NFL, right? There are too good of athletes on the other side of the football. Like, he had a couple plays where he made a couple moves, but bam, then he's right there in somebody's face and he's down. Right. Rico Dowdle, over 4 yards a carry yesterday. He only had 7 carries.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
You got to get some kind of run game established in this league to take the pressure off of Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb in this offense. And they didn't do that yesterday. So they got to find that kind of identity. There is a lot of questions in Dallas right now. And I love what Dak Prescott said yesterday. We're not going high. We're not going low. We're just trying to go out and play every day, get better every single day. All those are great things to say. But just like you said, Rich, there's a guy in that head coaching spot that's on the hot seat. Regardless what anybody wants to say, Mike McCarthy is coaching for his job. And if it doesn't work in Dallas, what team is going to snatch him up? Because he has a roster here in Dallas. That's not the excuse.
Yeah. With this type of effort, with this type of the way that the team been playing lately, Mike McCarthy might be lucky if he makes it to mid-season, because the Cowboys might just make a move and fire him if these type of games continue to happen under his watch. Like, I don't know how you could have a whole season and be like, oh, maybe for the playoffs it might be corrected. No, you cannot continue to have him coach the team the whole season when they give an effort like this and getting blown out. Like, we're America's team. That's not supposed to happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, Mike McCarthy definitely coaches for his job, man. This roster is loaded. Even the media people, ESPN, they definitely give us congratulations and say that the team is loaded, which we are, and we've been loaded for the last few years. Our window is slowly closing. Like it's been open for a while, like a super long time. But we just can't get the job done. But I mean, we got talented players. We really do. Like
Yeah, it's just such an inconsistent team right now.
has been
Um,
for years.
and part of that is our fault as fans too, because we beat Cleveland and we think, oh man, we're world beaters again. And then we have a game like this that kind of humbles us and says, hey, maybe you're not as good as you think you are. This coming up week is going to speak volumes about this Dallas Cowboy football team.
Right. And it's kind of tricky with the schedule, right? Because even if we come out and lose against the Ravens, we're gonna beat the Giants. Then we're gonna be 2-2. So the fan base is still gonna be on that, oh, it's our year, like we're back. Like, I don't know. It's gonna be kind of crazy. But coming
But
up,
the thing is if you come out in week 3,
mm,
another home game, you got a good team, a team that's 0-2 right now. Right? The Baltimore Ravens are scratching and clawing to go get a win. You got to come out here and make a statement as the Dallas Cowboys, because you can look up and say, okay, if we beat the Ravens, we got the Giants coming up. Then we got a tough matchup with the Lions coming up. You have an opportunity to make some statements before the bye week to say, hey, the Saints game was an anomaly. That's not who we are. We're going to fix some of these technique things that we did not play well. We see on the film what went wrong. We got to figure this out. But you come out versus the Ravens and lay an egg again. I'm with you. Does Mike McCarthy make it to the bye week? Now, we know Jerry Jones has never been a fan of making a change in the middle of the season.
right.
But for me, why not? Right? Like, change something up. If you're getting blown out like this versus the Saints, the Ravens come in and do the same thing. God forbid you mess around and lose to the Giants. Like, Mike McCarthy has Jerry Jones has to send a message to Cowboy Nation. This is not going to be tolerated. I'm going to go find me a coach that's going to come here and change the culture.
Right. And speaking of the Ravens, since we got them coming up next at home, which is actually a Sunday afternoon game, which is good for the
Yep.
Cowboys because we all know they suck in the 1 p.m. games. So they really don't have any excuse not to come out and half effort and be able to compete with the Baltimore Ravens. But so what do you think is the keys to the game to get us a victory against Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, obviously, it's the game plan for the Ravens is very, very simple. It's make Lamar be a thrower, right? If you look at the game versus the Raiders, they ran for 151 yards. They're going to run the football. 27 carries for the Ravens for 151 yards. That's 5.6 yards a carry. Like, they're going to come out and run the football. They're going to turn around and hand the ball to Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson's going to take off. You have to contain this run game, right? If you do that, you can get a couple balls from Lamar. He's going to throw you a couple if he's got to stand back there and throw it 40 times. But you have to stop the run. If you don't stop the run, you're done for against the Ravens. They're just going to run it down your throat. And they're going to do it with QB power. They're going to do it with QB draw. They're going to turn around and hand it to that big monster back there, Derrick Henry. And so you got to find a way. This is, like I said, we're going to learn a lot about this team this week at home versus the Baltimore Ravens. Regardless what their schedule, what their record is, I know they're 0-2, but they made some mistakes versus the Raiders that I don't see the Ravens making.
Mm-hmm.
They turned the ball over. They didn't get off the field on third down. They allowed this Raiders offense to get some key third downs and keep drives alive. They played a really good game versus the Chiefs in week 1, a game I thought they should have won. So it's not like this Ravens team is 0-2, a really 0-2 team. They really, if you look up a play here, a play there, they're 2-0 coming into Dallas on a high. Now they're probably desperate because they can't go 0 and they can't start the year 0-3. So they're going to come out and fight. So you better come out with that same energy they got and look at this like, hey, we're 0-2. We got to find a way to get this win. And so they got to stop the run, make Lamar a thrower, and then they have to establish the run game on offense. That's got to be key. Establish the run game. And like you said, Rich, the others. I'm just going to start calling them CeeDee Lamb and the others. The others got to find a way to be a factor for this offense, because once the others start being a factor, then teams will say, we can't just keep doubling CD. These other guys are killing us. Then CeeDee Lamb can go off.
Right, and I agree 100% with you. Looking at the Ravens defense, the secondary, right? You got Humphrey, you got Kyle Hamilton, you got Kyle Van Noy, like all people that we know because we play Madden. Like those are tough guys. Those are very physical DBs. So to your point, CD and the others gotta get open. Those others, Brandon Cooks, Luke, and I also heard that Jay Ferguson might be back, but if he's not,
Yeah,
those other people got to get involved in the game plan. They got to be able to get open. They got to be able to make those catches under all circumstances. We can't have that falling down. We can't have, oh, it's too high or it's too low. That effort out of the wide receiver room got to be there
yeah,
120% this next game, because the Ravens allowed Gardner Minshew to go 30 for 38 for like 276 yards. And Gardner Minshew ain't Dak Prescott. So we should be able to move the ball down the field. We should be able to throw the ball down the field. Devontae Adams went for 110. Brock Bowers, who I believe was actually the tight end for the Ravens, went for the
yeah,
98. And everybody else had catches around Devontae Adams. So just imagine if we was able to get that same output from our wide receivers, the game likely
yeah.
won't even be close with the Ravens. So if those guys can get open, I know our guys can get open because we got better talented players, and our quarterback is a lot better than Gardner Minshew. They weren't able to really run the ball against the Ravens, but we got a three-headed running game. Hopefully, that can at least pick up about 5 to 6 yards a carry. You do that 2 times on the series, you already got a first down. So just keep handing it off when you get in those positive yards, man. Like that is definitely going to be a key to the game. Can the offense score and get 7 versus 3? And can the defense get Lamar Jackson off the field? I think they can. They'll probably end up
Yeah.
having to like spy him a few times, but I think Lamar Jackson definitely holds on to the ball a little bit too long at times. As long as we don't let Derrick Henry get going and them pounding the rock after rock after rock after rock. And also they have who's the other running back for the Ravens? It is Justin Hill, who's actually pretty good. So once again, we're going to be facing a team that screens a lot, that runs a lot of tosses or whatever. So hopefully Mike Zimmer is able to scheme up something to stop those Justin Hill screens that's going to be coming. I know we saw a lot of that in Week 1 versus Kansas City. Like Justin Hill just out there just catching screens all day long. We also got to watch out for their big target, Mark Andrews, who's also back as well. So we're gonna need everybody to step up. The entire 53 roster, whoever's on that field, we're gonna need them to step up and perform and do their
Yep.
job. Because if they don't, somebody gonna lose their job. I mean, rightfully so. But Mike McCarthy definitely ain't gonna make it beyond the Giants. If we lose to the Ravens and then go out and be competitive, and the Giants are almost about to beat us, which I don't think is going to be true, Mike McCarthy might have to go. Like he might have to go.
I, I said that last year he had to go. I said at the end of last year, I don't know why you bring him back. You gave him 5 years. He hadn't done anything. He hadn't done anything.
Right.
Something's got to change, right? Like I don't know why Jerry Jones is so big about and listen, Jerry loves his people. He's always been like that. I mean, he kept Jason Garrett around 4 or 5 years longer than he should have. They're just at some point you got to shake things up, right? You know, Jason Garrett was a really, really good guy. We love Jason Garrett in Dallas, right? You know, he was a former Cowboy quarterback. He was truly a Cowboy, but at some point you got to be able to take a step back and understand this is a business about winning and winning the whole thing. And when you're not doing it, you're not even giving the opportunity to win the entire thing. Something has to change. And so
Yeah.
again, big week versus the Ravens. You know, I'll never root against my Cowboys. I'll never say another team's going to beat us. because that's just not who I am. I think the Cowboys come out, they're going to find a way to win. I want to see the effort from this defense. Cowboys are going to win a close one, 27-24.
Nice 3-point victory. I'm gonna go with probably 34-28. The Cowboys win by 7 or whatever. I definitely think we have the ability to make a statement with these Ravens because the Ravens are good. They are. Are they
Yeah.
world beaters? Probably not, but they are very able. They are able to get got, and they coming into a perfect scenario where the Cowboys need to rebound. They need to be aggressive, and they need to show the world that they're not the same old Cowboys. And obviously, the Ravens are hungry for a W as well. They back to back road games or whatever, so they could be tired. They could just be wanting to go back to Baltimore. So they could come out and lay an egg, which I'm hopeful for. But then, like I said, the Cowboys could just come out and make a statement as well because a lot of people, the Saints are a dome team as well. The Cowboys are a dome team, so the speed don't necessarily affect the Saints because they're kind of used to it or whatever. But coming from a grass and then going to a dome, the Ravens could struggle. I mean, I just throw that conspiracy theory out there a little bit. A lot of people talk about that, but you brought up an interesting point because I hear it a lot, right? About Jerry Jones, business and winning. Like, what do you think is more important for him now? The Cowboys business or the Cowboys winning? Because a lot of people say, hey, you guys didn't make any offseason moves, but last podcast we did come on and say, hey, we did make these additions. Were they splash additions? No. But hey, they were very complimentary to our team. Obviously, you didn't see that in week 2, but the guys that we brought, Kendricks, we brought Zimmer, we brought a few other guys we drafted, offensive linemen, wasn't splashes. We know that. But they did their job. They was able to pick up where Tyron Smith left, where what's the other dude that went to Miami? Biotish. Like they was able to pick up there. So we made additions to the team. A lot of people say Jerry Jones didn't do nothing. He didn't sign the splash names, but he drafted well. And he also did a little free agent signing. I mean, you can't sign big players with no money. That's what it really comes down to. The Cowboys didn't have no
Yes,
money, man.
especially because you were paying CeeDee Lamb, you knew you were
Yeah,
paying Dak Prescott, you got Micah Parsons. I mean, there's just so much money tied up.
yeah,
Anybody that questions whether Jerry Jones wants to win or not doesn't know who Jerry Jones is. That guy stays up at night worried about winning football games. I truly think now. Is it his fault he's one of the most business savvy men to ever walk this planet? No, it's not his fault. He was rich before he bought the Dallas Cowboys. Have the Dallas Cowboys made him that much more richer? Absolutely. But he has built a brand around the world called the Dallas Cowboys. There's a reason they are the most expensive franchise in all of sports, not just football, in everything. I mean, they're worth over $10 billion. Yes, he's a great businessman. But if you think he doesn't want to win every single game they play, you don't know Jerry Jones.
right.
So I think my thing is that people bash Jerry Jones a lot because he's more involved as an owner than probably anybody else. As a Cowboy, I'm also a Dallas Maverick fan. You want to talk about an owner now? Mark Cuban at this point has sold his majority share of the Mavericks. Somebody else owns him, but he's still a big piece of the Mavericks. You want to talk about a guy that was involved with the Mavericks every single day? I mean, Mark Cuban never misses a game. He's on the sidelines every single time. What if Jerry Jones was on the sideline every single game? That's what Mark Cuban does. He's right there at the end of the bench every single game that they play, home and away. He's involved, and he's built the Mavericks up to this big, huge NBA team when the Mavericks were the doormat for so long. Like owners, that's their business. So, people that bash Jerry Jones, I never really get it. They say, that's the first change that's got to happen. I don't know if you know this, but Jerry Jones won 3 Super Bowls as the owner.
Right.
So he obviously knew what he was doing. He made some
100%.
big moves when he first came to Dallas. So I get it. It's so easy to blame the owner that sits in the box and pounds on his chest because he's a vocal guy. Listen, you lucky it's Jerry Jones, because if that was expert was in charge of the Dallas Cowboys, I'll be standing right next to Mike McCarthy. Don't call that.
Right.
Don't call that.
Right.
Call something else.
What type of way is
Hey,
that?
hey, Mike Zimmer. Why y'all ain't? Hey, y'all ain't stopped the run in 4 plays. What y'all doing?
Right. And you
Yeah,
like
so,
back in the day, you used to see Jerry on the sidelines after the
oh, he used
game,
to come. Oh,
but
he used to come down
yeah, he
every
used to come
time.
down every time. But now you don't
Yeah.
even see him on the sidelines. He just stays up in this little suite, which is nice, by the way, because I actually took a tour of the Cowboy Stadium, and I think that's his suite is nice. Like I wouldn't come out of there. I sleep in there. I wouldn't like. I sleep in this suite if I was him.
Listen, I
But
love Jerry Jones and what he's done for this Cowboy team.
right,
Uh, Again, yesterday, Jerry Jones missed 0 tackles, missed 0 assignments, didn't throw any interceptions. Jerry Jones was perfect yesterday. So we got to stop blaming him. At some point, it's those guys that put that helmet on, we got to start blaming them.
right, 100%. So yesterday's action, real quick before we get out of here, man. Obviously, talking about the division, the Commanders and the Giants. We didn't really care who won or lost that game. Obviously, the Commanders won 21-18. Jay Daniels might be looking kind of good, but he also might be looking kind of RG3 ish as well. I hope that's not the case. I hope they get that man some protection and have him
Shout out RG3.
yeah. Have him stop like running all over the place. Get that man protection and have him drop back and make some reads or whatever. But huge Monday night game tonight as well. The Eagles and the Falcons. I would never sit up here and say I want the Eagles to win, so I'm gonna go for the Falcons. Hopefully Kirk
Facts.
Cousins balls out tonight, and hopefully
Correct.
the Eagles can join us in the 1-1 column. Any thoughts about the Monday night game tonight?
Yeah, again, this is a chance you're on national television. Everybody will be watching. Let's see what team they are. Now, they're without A.J. Brown. They're not going to have one of their big pieces with them. So
Yeah.
we'll see how they play. It'll be a good night for Dallas Goedert, for Devontae Smith, obviously Saquon Barkley. But this Atlanta Falcons team, there was a lot of hype around this team in the offseason. They brought a lot of guys in to bolster this team and make them a good team. They got a really good defense. So we'll see. I'll be a huge Falcon fan tonight for sure.
Yes, I really hope the Falcons step up and really use this opportunity on the Monday Night Football to embarrass the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I would love to see that. If it's the other way around, I'm definitely gonna call it a night pretty early. But I really think the Falcons are gonna come out and do their thing, man, and embarrass the Eagles for who they are, the bums that we all know and love. Okay, but that's it for the Silver and Blue Huddle, man. Hopefully, the Dallas Cowboys rebound and recover from this week 2 loss and really put it to the Ravens and come out and get a dub. And hopefully next week we can come up here and cap about how we are back and how the Dallas Cowboys like just became somebody new. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we
Yeah,
got to look forward to for the rest of the season. So.
agree.
Richblkman, Expert Corner. So amazing to be back next week, man. That is a Silver and Blue Huddle. As always, make sure you drop a comment or write something on the page, and we would definitely be very responsive to it and answer it on the next podcast. Catch the podcast on all your streaming platforms: Apple, Spotify, wherever else you watch your podcast. The Silver and Blue Huddle is there. We got some big things coming up for the Silver and Blue as well. We're gonna design some new thumbnails I got, and also an intro video, like something like that. So that's coming soon. So be on the
Let's go.
lookout for that. But Silver and Blue Huddle, man. Catch you guys next week. Peace out.